Hello students, today we will have the explanation of the chapter The Enemy of Vistas book, which is written by Paulus Buck, and today we will have the explanation from page number 44 till page number 47, and this is the last explanatory video of this chapter. Now let's begin with the explanation, which starts with the young man nodded in perfect comprehension and said, "Okay." He said simply. Now, before we understand this particular line, let's go back to page number 43 and let's understand what happened earlier. So, in the last in the part number 5th of the video, I had told you that Sadao is just told this man, this American person, whose name is Tom, and he told him that it's very clear and people know that you are hidden over here and it's not safe for you to be over here. Now let's begin with what we started today. And with this particular sentence, the young man, that is Tom, nodded in and accepted in a perfect comprehension or a perfect understanding, and he said okay, and he said that simply. And Sadao did not see him again until evening. He did not see him again until evening, and as soon as it was dark, he dragged the stout boat, that strong and heavy boat of his own, which was actually Sadao's, down to the shore, and in it he put some food and bottled water over that he had bought secretly during the day for this person Tom, and as well as 2 quills also he had bought at the pawn shop. My dear students, pawn shop is a kind of a shop where old and antique stuff is actually sold and bought from over there. So he bought 2 old quills from over there, and the boat he tied to a post, and then the boat he tied to a post to a particular place in the water, for the tide was high at that point of time. There was no moon at that night, and he worked without a flashlight, and he did all that stuff. Now when he came back to the house, he entered the house as if he had just come back from his work. And so Hannah knew nothing, and the wife Hannah said Yumi was here yesterday, and she said, as she was serving him the supper, we know that it is either an early dinner, you can say, an early meal which is generally taken in the evening, or it's done basically late night. So she served him supper, and though she was so modern, still she did not eat with him. Well, now what does this sentence, my dear students, mean? It means the Japanese culture is somewhat similar to the Indian culture, as in Indian culture also we see that the Indian women in the house don't eat with the whole family. When the whole family eats, then they sit and then they have the food and they have the meal. So in this way also we see over here that Hannah did not sit, and then she served the meal to her husband, and she did not eat with him. Yumi cried over the baby, and she went on with a sigh. She was actually Yumi loved a lot the baby of Hannah, and she told Hannah told that Yumi misses the child, and the servants will come back as soon as the foreigner is gone. Sadao answered in reply, just not that Yumi will come back, the other servants will also come back, according to Sadao. Now, as he told, as soon as this man is gone. Now, he went into the guest room that night before he went to the bed himself, and checked carefully that the American's temperature, what was the temperature of this man, is he okay or not, and what was the condition, the state of the wound, and his heartbeat and the pulse rate. He checked all that. The pulse was irregular, that could be understood, but perhaps that was because of excitement, because of delight, because of joy, that he is now okay and he's about to leave now, and he has to leave this place. Now the young man's pale lips were pressed together and his eyes burned because he was excited, and only the scars on his neck were red. The rest of the wounds were okay, but only the wounds on his neck were actually red. I realize that you are saving my life again, he told Sadao. Tom told Sadao that it is actually Sadao that who is again saving his life, just not saving his life with a bullet and giving all the medication, but it is again just trying to make him escape from this particular place without handing him over to the police or the authorities, whatever. Now, moving ahead, not at all, Sadao said, it is only inconvenient to have you here any longer. It is inconvenient, it is really very difficult for you being over here because it's a problematic situation for me and for my family. Sadao just told it to Tom. Now, he had hesitated a good deal, a great deal, about giving the man a flashlight. Now, my dear students, he really hesitated a lot, but he had decided to go to give it to him finally and it was a small one and his own, and which he used at night when he was often called for special purposes, for emergency purposes. My dear students, now if your food runs out or finishes out or comes to an end, my dear students, before you catch a boat, he said, it's if you, anything happens before actually your food before you get something to run away from over there from that particular island, it's better. And if food runs away, what you have to do, he said, signal me two flashes at the same instant, at the same time. In such a condition, if you do not have any food along with you and you haven't got a boat in such a situation, just signal me twice, two flashes. When is this particular signal to be given? He told that also, when the sun drops over the horizon, it means the sun is about to set and the sun hasn't set fully or completely. So it should be the sun be setting so that nobody be able to find out the flashlight in that particular point of light. Now, in such a situation, so that would be easier for both of the people. Now, do not signal in darkness, for it will be seen. So, Sadao seems concerned for himself and for this man also. It can be seen, and then both of them can be caught in such a situation. And if you are all right, but still over there, signal me once. If you are okay, perfectly over there, you can give me a single flash, and I'll be able to understand that you are over there and you are all right, and you don't want anything, and everything is okay. Now you will find fresh fish easy to catch, but you must eat them raw. A fire would be seen. Now Sada told him, yes, you can catch fish. There is a lot of fish. There is a lot of fish in the sea. You can have that. You can eat that. But if you try to burn the wood and just have it cooked or somehow, if you think so, that there's a problem over there. A fire could be seen. The smoke can be seen, and people can find you out. So it's better do not burn the fire. And the young man breathed, and he just accepted that, and he said, okay. Tom said, okay. Now he was dressed now in the Japanese clothes which Sadao had actually given him, and Tom was now not in those clothes from which he had come out of the sea, actually, because in those clothes there would have been a certain chance that he would have been caught. So that is why Sadao gave him Japanese clothes. And at the last moment, Sadao wrapped a black cloth about his blonde head, because Japanese people generally do not have blonde hair or golden hair. So that is why, to hide those hair, so he just covered the head of Tom. He just wrapped a black cloth. He just covered the black cloth about his blonde head. Blonde head means over here the blonde hair head. Now Sadao said, the young American without a word shook Sadao's hand warmly and then walked quietly well across the floor, down the step into the darkness. He just moved and then into the darkness of the garden. Once, twice, Sadao saw his light flash to find his way. Sadao saw that he actually trying to find his way, and but that would not be suspected, but that would not be doubted. He waited until from the shore there was one more flash, and then when he saw he has reached the shore from where he could actually go from over there, he saw just one more flash, and then he closed the partition. And that night, both husband and wife, Hannah and Sada both slept easily because now this man Tom had gone from the house. And later on, what happened? Just because this man had left from over there, so the same thing, and he had told earlier the general, since so and so person is over here, and you have to do something, and we know that general had said that he will send assassins to his own, and they will kill this particular person. And now when this man is not over there, it was Sadao's responsibility to inform the general, and that is why when he met the general, he said, "So you say the man escaped?" And the general asked Sada over here, "You are telling me you say the man means you are telling me that that man escaped?" And the general asked faintly means slightly, and he had been operated upon a week before, an emergency operation to which Sadao had been brought in the night, and Sadao had done the operation of the general. Now, for 12 hours, Sada had not been sure that the general would actually live of the critical condition in which he was actually. The gallbladder was much involved in the problem in such a situation. And then the old man had begun to breathe deeply again, and to demand food also. And just because the food is generally not provided to people who have just come out of the surgery, and they have to wait a period of time, and then food is provided to them. And then so in this condition also, we are finding that a general is asking for food. He started demanding food. Now, Sada had not been able to ask about the assassins in such a situation, when the general was in such a situation, when he is having pain. The operation, although the operation has been done and he's safe now, he's speaking even. But the thing is over here, he is still not in a condition that actually the general can actually ask about the assassins, tell about the assassins, and Sada could actually ask about the assassins. Now, my dear students, so far it's written ahead, so far as we knew, they had never come. Now, the one thing what Sada knew was that in the last 3-4 days from when he had actually told the general, and since then these assassins had never come. The servants had returned, and Yumi had cleaned the guest room thoroughly and had burned sulfur into it to get the white man smell out of it. So we come to know that the servants, after when this man actually left the house, so the servants returned, Yumi also returned, and in Yumi also burned sulfur over there in the room, and so that she could get the white man smell out of the room. And nobody said anything to the people, to the couple, and only the gardener was much annoyed, much more across. It's written, only the gardener was cross. Cross means he was annoyed. Why? Simply because he was a gardener, and because he had got behind with his chrysanthemums. Chrysanthemums, my dear students, is a flower. In Hindi, we call it as guldaudi. So, but after a week, Sadao felt that the general was well enough to be spoken about the prisoner. Yes, Excellency, he escaped. He told when he was in a good situation that he could tell general. Then he told it, and yes, Excellency, he escaped. Sada now said, and he kept so signifying that he wanted to tell more things, but he hadn't told all the things that he was himself involved in actually in such a situation, in that he just couldn't reveal it all, and he was the one who actually let this man out of his house, and and gave him an escape actually. So he had not said all he might have said, but was unwilling, but was also afraid and hesitant actually to disturb the general further. He didn't want it to act. He was much more afraid, and he was really thinking of the general, that he didn't want it to actually much disturb the general. But the old man opened his eyes suddenly. "That prisoner," he said with some energy, "did I not promise you that I would kill him for you?" Now the general seems a bit tense listening to this, that the man escaped actually, and he got angry with Sadao, and he asked this question from Sadao, did I not promise, the general said, "Did I not promise that I would actually let him kill for you, be killed for you?" And on page 46. Now we are on page number 46, the first line. And you did, Excellency. Yes, Excellency, as you, yes, you said so. And well, the old man said in a tone of amazement. He was astonished, he was in a wonder. So I did. But you see, I was suffering a good deal. Yes, I was in a problematic situation. I was not well. I was to have an operation, and that is why I was unable to do so. The truth is, I thought of nothing but of myself only. In short, I forgot my promise for you. The thing is this, yes, in my own pain, in my own problems, I just forgot my promise for you. And Sadao murmured, Sadao mumbled, I wondered, Your Excellency, why didn't you actually send the assassins? And it was certainly very careless of me. The general accepted his fault, and but you understand it was not a lack of patriotism. It's not that I am not a good Japanese and I have no patriotism within me, or it's any kind of a dereliction of duty, or it's any kind of a neglection. Dereliction means any kind of neglection of duty. He looked anxiously at his doctor. The general looked anxiously, he looked worriedly at the doctor. If the matter should come out, you would understand that, wouldn't you? If I'm in a situation which I am, the general said, certainly you would be able to understand that, and I would be at your place. Wouldn't you be understanding the same thing? And suddenly, Your Excellency, Sadao said so, and he suddenly comprehended and understood that the general was in the palm of his hand. In the palm of his hand means actually won't do anything against him, simply because he accepted his error, where the general accepted his error where he did, and the simple thing was he won't do anything to Sadao, won't do anything against Sadao. Now that was a consequence, that was a result. Actually, he himself was perfectly safe, and Sadao felt now that he is perfectly safe now. I can swear to your loyalty, Excellency. I can vote to your loyalty, Excellency, he said to the old general, and to your zeal and to your enthusiasm with which you actually work against the enemy, that you are a lovely patriot. You are a lovely patriot. Now the general murmured and he mumbled over here, You are a good man. And saying so, he closed his eyes, and you will be rewarded for what you did. Not just sending this man away, he will be recorded for saving the life of general. But Sadao, searchingly the spot of black in the twilighted sea that night. Twilighted means that's the time actually when the sun is about to set, or you can say a semi-dark sea, where when light is very less around. So in the twilighted sea that night had his reward. There was no break of light, there was no ray of light in the dusk, and no one was on the island. As we had read earlier, that this person Tom had to signal twice in kind of a thing if he required anything, and signal once if he is secure over there and still over there, he has to just signal once. But there was no signal over there. It means that this man was actually gone from that island even. So he has left that island also. So he was safe, and he left that place, even he left that island also safe and doubtless, for he had warned him to wait only for a Korean fishing boat. He had told, yes, you can be safe, but for that you have to wait for a Korean fishing boat. The Korean fishing boat will take you safely. And he stood for a moment on the veranda, and he gazing out to the sea. He was looking at the sea, from whence means from where the young man had come out that other night, and into his mind, although without reason, there came out white faces he had known, the professor at whose house he had met Hannah, a dull man, and his wife had been a silly, talkative woman, in spite of her wish to be kind. And he remembered his old teacher of anatomy, who was an American, who had been so insistent, who had been determined and resolute on mercy with the knife. And then he remembered the face of his fat and slatternly landlady. Slatternly means careless and dirty habits lady. So he had a great difficulty in finding a place when he actually was having a problem finding a place in America. It in such a situation that landlady actually helped him stay in her house, gave place to Sada to actually live in when he was studying there in America. And the Americans were full of prejudice, and it had been a better to live in it. Prejudice means preconceived notions, my dear students, and the Americans were full of such preconceived notions that they are better than the Japanese, and knowing himself they are superior. And Sada knew that the Japanese are much more superior comparatively to these American. Now he had despised and disliked and hated. Despised means disliked and hated the ignorant and the dirty old woman who had at last consented to house him. This landlady who had actually consented, who had actually agreed to keep him, to rent him in her own house, who allowed him to actually stay in her house, in her miserable home, in her unpleasant home. And yet once tried to be grateful to her because she had in her last year nursed him. Means cared for him, medicated him when he was actually sick, nursed him through influenza when he was facing influenza. In such a situation, this landlady actually helped him. But it was difficult, for she was no less repulsive. She also disliked him to him in her kindness. Now he remembered that the youthful haggard face of the prisoner, and this is the latest face of any American which Sada had seen in his whole life, and this is one of the things which he disliked completely, actually, you can say. And now he remembered this particular face, and now he remembered the youthful haggard face. Haggard face means which is full of fatigue, and this haggard face of the prisoner, white and repulsive. Again, the white person whom being an American he disliked. Strange, he thought. Sada, for according Sada, it was very strange. I wonder why I could not kill this man. Yes, I had many options. I had many times. I had then a better option to kill him, because he was just a patient. He was not in a good situation. He would have let him die. He would have not operated him. He would, even when he was being operated, he had a chance to live in such a situation that he could die, but he didn't so. But he rather accepted his responsibility as a doctor in such a situation, and he also proved himself as a good patriot, also informing the general that the man in the house is over here is actually an American and he is an escaped soldier. And if anything general could do in this regard. So this is one of the important questions that might be asked in the examinations. How do you take Sada? Whether do you consider Sada as a patriot, or Sada, how was he much more responsible as a doctor? This type of questions may be asked in the examination or in the test also, and you will have to then explain this. So, but he, being a doctor, he just kept the thing that he had to save this man, and he saved this man who was his enemy also, because Sada was Japanese and this Tom was an American. But still, Tom just saved his life being a doctor, and he was also a lovely patriot, informing the general also about him. With this, we come to the end of this chapter and this video. Thank you.